What is it that you truly value? Are we providing it to you? And if so, how business effective are we? Where can we be better? What problems are you trying to solve that we can help you with from a technology standpoint?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the How Did Happen podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today, as I am with every episode. Before I get to my guests, I do want to remind you, in case you're not so tired of hearing about it that you don't want to be reminded again, but my new book, Ownership, How Getting Selfish Got Me Unstuck, has become kind of a really big deal. And I'm really proud of it. And I've gotten super feedback on it, lots of great Amazon reviews. And if you haven't checked it out yet, pick up a copy, check it out, and let me know what you think. So enough about me. You're here to be inspired, activated, and more by my guest today. My guest today is Jayson Lowe. Jayson, thank you so much for being on the show today.
It's so good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
And I do appreciate Jason's patience because we had a little Zoom link issue, and those things can get you a little flustered. But he came on and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm ready to go." That happened. So really, thank you for handling it that way.
You're welcome.
Let me tell you about why you should be excited about Jayson. Jayson Lowe is the founder of Ascendant Financial. He helps entrepreneurs transform their businesses from a cash-eating monster to a money-making machine. I love that, by the way, Jayson. So Jayson's known as a visionary and gifted leader with over 22 years experience as a highly regarded coach, speaker, and advisor to individuals and business owners nationwide and throughout Canada as well, since we're in the US. Jayson leads a team of professionals highly sought after for their strong belief in and commitment to the process of becoming your own banker, developed by the late R. Nelson Nash. He works closely with accountants, lawyers, and strategic partners to provide unique and unrivaled solutions that maximize his clients' wealth. You getting excited? I'm getting excited.
I'm born excited.
He is recognized as one of Canada's top overall advisors, the author of several publications, and the co-author of The Banker's Secret, a simple guide to creating personal wealth for Canadians. He is internationally recognized as one of the leading educators and implementers of Becoming Your Own Banker, the Infinite Banking Concept, and the co-host of the Wealth Without Bay Street podcast. Jayson, I start every show with the same simple question. How did it happen for you?
Oh, wow. I'll tell you, growing up in a small mining and forestry community, so I was born and raised in Timmins, Ontario, which your listeners, your viewers might be familiar with Shania Twain, the country music sensation. Her real name's Eileen, just for trivia. Shania is Ojibwe, it means on my way. And we all grew up in the same community. And I had an opportunity to relocate to Western Canada in 1998. And at that time, I thought that my lot in life was going to be climbing the corporate ladder and, working my way through this large matrixed organization that I was with and spent many years with and learned a great deal, served in a variety of leadership capacities. But I knew something within me was just buzzing. I needed to be in control of building something from scratch and making it blossom into something that was profitable, that was scalable. And I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug based on an opportunity that came my way in the corporate world that I was just describing. And I'll never forget my mentor at the time, who's still a dear friend to this day. I owe him an enormous debt of gratitude. His name's Ted Hutchinson. And he said to me when we were talking about this business idea within this large organization, I said, you know what? I want to lead this thing. And he said, go build something to lead. And he gave me the autonomy. And once I got a taste of that autonomy and we established this new line of business from ground zero into a multi-seven-figure profitable line, I was bit by the entrepreneurial bug, and I've never looked back since. And
Mm.
I just, I can't thank Ted enough for helping me realize that potential. And he saw that ambition. He saw the perseverance. He saw the willingness to fail and to learn from that and to grow. And so I got bit by that bug very early. I was 26 years old at the time and 47 years young today. And I couldn't imagine myself doing anything different. I often say that as an entrepreneur, I am unemployable. I could not go back to being employed. We love to take things as entrepreneurs to solve problems, to take something from a lower level of productivity to a higher level of productivity, and to build teams and to grow businesses. And it's I'm just blessed beyond the definition of good fortune. It's not work to me.
And so it's interesting because when you, in addition to sort of you getting bit on your own, when you surround yourself by people and groups, like I know you're affiliated with, or you're in Strategic Coach and you're in Genius Network and some of these others, and I've had experience with some of those, with Strategic Coach and other groups where it's you have enough of this on your own, but when you start getting around other people other entrepreneurs, for example, and really, especially really creative entrepreneurs, and you talk about the unemployable thing. I mean, you've run into a lot of people where you're like, it's a good thing that person's got a good business, and because otherwise they would be in trouble because they just are different. They just are different in a overall in a really, really good way. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I would agree with you completely because the world, for the most part, views the entrepreneur, the business owner, as a strange individual. Like you're just a strange person. And so the Genius Network, the Strategic Coach 10X Ambition program that I've been so grateful to be a part of for the past several years. Dan Sullivan, one of the co-founders of Strategic Coach, he is the best entrepreneurial coach on planet Earth. And he's been coaching entrepreneurs for 47 years. And so he's developed pretty good skill set there. And when you surround yourself with those entrepreneurs that are a part of those communities, it's just a whole bunch of weird people getting together, and iron sharpens iron. And so you're learning from people like you and I talked about before we hit the record button on today's episode. You and I were talking about how you get inspired from the most unlikely places, where it's people who are not in your area of genius. They're not in your line of business, but yet they're very serving, they're very giving, and their willingness to help you solve a problem, develop an opportunity, whatever that may be. Those two communities in particular are absolutely hands down remarkable, and I couldn't imagine not being a part of them. I look forward to my Genius Network sessions and to my Strategic Coach sessions. I'm like a kid in a candy store, and being able to serve and bring value to other people that's something that fills your energy tank. It just feels good. Think about the last time you helped somebody. It felt good.
For sure. Right? And I think about too with those kinds of groups and others is that without joining them, you would likely never run across those people in your day-to-day business or personal life. And it's just a good reminder that, man, if you want to grow as an entrepreneur, or you want to grow as a leader or a thinker, there comes a point where everything around you that you're used to is all used up. There's nothing new coming out of there. So you really do owe it to yourself to get out and meet these other people and engage in these other groups, because that's where the magic is. That's really where the magic is. That's been my experience.
I believe that everybody needs a coach. I think regardless of what stage you're at in whatever it is that you're setting out to do, everybody needs a coach. And think about your favorite athlete. Think about your favorite artist. Think about your favorite musician, or
Yeah.
All of these folks attribute their continued growth and improvement to coaching. And so it's a never ending opportunity to continue to realize your potential, because there's no finish line there. Because if you're continually making your future bigger than your past, the good thing about the past is that you get to decide what to bring with you into your future and what to leave behind.
Yeah.
And Dan Sullivan shared something with me that I think your listeners and viewers will really, really benefit from. He said, "You own your past, your future, and your present. Be very careful what you feed each one of them."
Mm.
Something to
I,
think about.
yeah, I don't want to make this a Dan Sullivan love fest, but
Oh, no, 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 no,
I
no.
do agree with your statement that at least of any coach that I've ever met or been around, he is certainly the top entrepreneurial coach that I've ever been around, as are his team of coaches that
Oh,
that are helping him with his ideas, bringing his ideas to life and to the membership. But as you were talking about that, athletes and everyone else, it seemed to me that the lesson there, in addition to by getting out there, you get in front of all these interesting people and ideas and thoughts, is that you are never, no matter how successful you are never too big to be coached to be better.
hands down agree
No
with you.
matter what. And
Yeah.
I think so many people, um, sometimes they get a certain level of success and they think, well, I pretty much know.
Yeah, I've
You can convince
arrived.
yourself, I've arrived. Yes, I know. I don't need a coach. I don't need, what's a coach going to do for me? That kind of thing. Instead of just being open to, no matter how good I am, no matter how far I've come, I can always go further. And I can always go further with someone's help.
Oh,
Um,
agreed. That's so well put. And my late mentor, R. Nelson Nash, he often said, "There's no such thing as having arrived in knowledge. There's always something new to learn." And the moment that you feel that you've arrived, then you've lost your ability to be inspired to learn anything new. And if you think about
mm,
your own circle of influence, it's really important to identify the arrival syndrome if someone's suffering from that, and you want to avoid close contact at all costs, because that can rub off on you.
sure.
And I am continually learning and growing, and it fascinates me. It brings me energy, and I love to help others realize their potential as well.
So, Jason, let's go back to Timmins for a little bit here. So you're growing up in this mill town, um, and you're thinking about what's as a kid, what's going on? What's your family life like? What are you thinking about your future? When you talk about owning your past, your present, and your future, what were you owning at that time?
Wow, thank you. That's honestly, a really great question. Growing up, I I didn't have anybody really to mentor me. My dad worked all the time. He was always out of the home. My parents continually argued about money. And I grew up in that period where, as a toddler in the early 1980s, when inflation skyrocketed, and I had no idea what was going on
Right.
conceptually at that time. But what I was dreaming about were the things that I was doing. We would play road hockey every day, and I would imagine myself being in the National Hockey League and scoring the game-winning goal. And so I was very competitive with myself even back then. I always wanted to score the extra goal, make the extra pass. You know, I wanted to win. And honestly, that is what was on my mind. I dreamed about a career as a professional hockey player, and then as I continued my journey, my life's journey, one of my family members became a police officer with the Timmins Police Service, and retired as the deputy chief of police there at the end of a very rewarding career. And I thought that that was a path that I would end up going down because I looked up to my uncle and I thought, okay, if I'm going to be in Timmins and this is where I'm going to be, then why not pursue a career in law enforcement? And different. I really do believe that things happen for a reason, and that just wasn't my path. That wasn't what I was destined to do, and I realize that now. But
Mm-hmm.
growing up wasn't easy for me. Family life was tough. We weren't impoverished, but by the same token, um, money was just a very gaslighting subject in our family. So I had nobody to teach me, nobody to mentor me about how to keep money, how to multiply money, how to really, I guess, create a bigger future than my past. I didn't start receiving that inspiration until my early 20s. And so my childhood really wasn't that. I shouldn't say I'm great. I am grateful for everything that happened because it taught me what I know now to be some very fundamental skills. And my dad was a very strong guy, and I picked up on a lot of things from him, including being a workaholic, which is just it's a form of addiction that's accepted by society.
Right.
And so I am a workaholic. I am an addict in that sense, and I'm working on it. I'm doing the best I can. Took a 6 week sabbatical over the course of this summer, the longest I've ever been away from work since I was a fetus. And that scared the crap out of me. But, I love Timmins. Timmins will always have a place in my heart. Great community, great people, hardworking, blue collar, wonderful people.
And when did the NHL career dream start to fade? Was it?
When my parents started to tell me, listen, we just don't have the money. We don't have the money for you to
Okay.
buy the equipment you need to participate on the team, to attend tournaments, and all of those things that just cost money. And so it was that which prevented me from who knows where that journey or path may have taken me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it was. Son, you cannot participate in anything that requires money. If you want to play road hockey, knock yourself out. And I grew up actually right next door to Steve Sullivan. He was literally our next door neighbor. And he went on to have a great career with Chicago, with the New Jersey Devils, the Toronto Maple Leafs,
Oh,
the
nice.
Phoenix Coyotes, and he always said when he was young playing that road hockey, he said, "One day I'm going to be in the NHL," and I commend him for achieving that dream.
So yeah, good for him. So 6 weeks of sabbatical,
Yeah.
the most time you've taken off since you were a fetus, I think is what you said. So in before college, let's say, and it'd be interesting to see how the money for college came along. But what kind of work were you doing as a kid?
Oh man, I'll tell you, I had there was a company that used to operate named Consumers Distributing.
Okay.
And this was a company where you would walk into a storefront, you would open a catalog, you would select the products that you want, write them down on a piece of paper, and the warehouse would be filled with product. A picker would grab those items, bring them to the cash register, you'd pay, and you'd leave. And they made an announcement in high school that they were looking for part time people to work in the warehouse at this consumers distributing store. And I had really long hair. I loved, hard rock and Metallica, and I was right into that, that era.
I still do, so that's okay.
Oh,
Nothing wrong with
I've
that.
seen Metallica more times than I can count. Like one of my favorite
Okay.
bands of all time.
Nice.
And so I go in to ask for a job, and the store manager he came to the counter and I said, "Hi, my name's Jason. I'm here. I'm responding to this ad that came over the air at my high school." And he said, "Positions are filled. There's no work here."
Hmm.
So I left, came back again the next day. I left, came back again the next day. And Rob brought me into the warehouse and he said, the only reason why I'm even talking to you right now is because of how persistent you were. And within 5 minutes, I had the job and I worked there all through high school and all through college, right until the stores, like the company itself, closed its doors.
Okay.
And
And
I loved it.
even with the long hair.
Yeah, he didn't mind.
Nice.
Once he said, once I kind of got to know you, I thought you were okay.
It was okay. All right.
But I loved it. So many great friendships and memories of working. And what I didn't realize is I was filling up my toolbox with skills that are transferable even to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I never knew how those skills were going to serve me now in another company of mine in the e-commerce space. We have a 3PL pack and prep shipping company that caters to e-commerce resellers. And I transferred a lot of those skill sets that I learned throughout high school and college into this new business. They're still just as relevant today.
Nice.
Isn't that good?
That's nice.
Yeah.
But you didn't keep the long hair. What's
Nope.
going on, man?
Yeah, no, I attribute that to my uncle. When I decided that I wanted to quit smoking, and I asked my uncle, "Hey, what can I do to get in shape?" And he said, "Well, why don't you start by cutting your hair?" I know that doesn't have any relevance at all, but he used to rib me about that, and so I did. And then I started to get into shape, and I quit smoking. And I credit my uncle with helping me to get kickstarted and taking care of myself.
Yeah.
So
Great.
yeah.
So where did the money come from for your education then, Jayson? Like you
Well, so when Consumers Distributing closed its doors, I was already out of high school, almost 2 years to the day that happened. And the part of the getting you back into the workforce, there was a funding program that was made available to us as employees who were being let go because of this company closing its doors. And so that was a blessing that showed up at exactly the right time. And I decided to attend the Northern College of Applied Arts and Technology, and computer technology was my area of focus. And that led to a great career with Staples Business Depot. And so everything, like there was a domino effect. It was,
Yeah.
I look back on it now and I go, wow, was I ever blessed?
So maybe you weren't thinking about college. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I was
You were
thinking,
like thinking about, hey, I've got this great job and
yeah, once I
I
knew,
can listen to Metallica and make some money and
yeah, just work in a warehouse, and
yeah.
a great time.
And
But no, once I knew that the writing was on the wall, with Consumers Distributing closing its doors, I was already thinking about, okay, what's next, and what do I want to do? And I just really enjoyed technology. I was really fascinated by it. This was at a point in time when the internet was really just growing in popularity, when computers became all the rage, and I started to take them apart and put them back together and troubleshoot problems. And then friends would be asking me, "Hey, I'm having a problem with this new computer. Can you help me with it?" And so it triggered this, hey, computer technology is something that I think I want to pursue. And that's what led me to getting through college and being hired full time right before I finished college. And what a journey.
huh. And you said that earlier that you were inside of this corporation, and I don't know if that was Staples or
That was
not.
Staples. Yep.
Staples, and you were doing good. It reminded me of me. So there are a couple things that you were doing good. You were moving up. You were
Oh yeah.
sounded like you were doing fantastic, and then
Yeah.
you had this opportunity to become what I think people would call an entrepreneur inside of Staples,
Right.
because of Ted. So that's pretty lucky, first of all, because most people, like me, for example, I had a similar thing, but then I got fired from my job,
Oh, I'm
which
sorry to hear
is
that.
No, 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 don't be sorry, because it's the same as your consumers, direct closing. It was like the greatest thing that could have happened. I just didn't realize it at the time. But so I that's what happened to me, and then I, through a series of events that aren't important to your story, I became an entrepreneur when I was the same age, 26. Um, but you have like a different way, and I'd like to get a little more into it, because a lot of people that are sort of, I think I want to be an entrepreneur, and they have all these thoughts about how they could do something, do it better or whatever. They don't, but they're in a corporate world that's actually pretty enticing. The money's good, the benefits are good, the opportunities are good. You just have to put up with some stuff that you may not want to. How did besides Ted? I mean, what did the opportunity go like for you to be this sort of entrepreneur inside? When he helped you.
Here's how it
Yeah.
all began.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, it's so funny, when you think back to the domino effect. So the first domino that tipped over in that opportunity was so customers were buying computers and they were wanting to expand their memory capacity in these computers. So we were selling these RAM chips, and customers started asking, can you just install that for me here? If I just bring my computer down, can you pop that in for me? So without asking for permission, I said, of course we can do that. Bring your computer in. We'll take care of it. So I was the one that had the skill set to do it.
Mm.
And so I started popping in these memory chips, and we were just ringing them in under a generic SKU. And so Ted, he saw this activity one day and he goes, hey, he kind of peeked his head into the back area and he goes, what are you up to? What are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm just popping in a memory chip for a customer. And he goes, oh, really? Tell me more. And I said, well, this is what customers are asking us for. And I said to Ted, I said, you know what? The one thing we should start asking every new customer who buys components for their computer, when's the last time you had your computer tuned up? Well, people would
Mm.
say, I've never had that done. What are you talking about? So we developed a new service and we started selling that. And then we developed, people would come in and buy ink and paper and a brand new printer. And we would say, how comfortable are you connecting this thing and getting it up and running? Oh, I've never done it before. Bring your computer in, leave the goods here, go home, get your computer, bring it in. We'll plug it all in. We'll test it for you. And that started blossoming into these really high margin transactions. And so Ted said, hey, I think we've got something here. Like this is a best demonstrated practice now that we can transfer to other stores in the Western region. And we got the okay to start transferring that best practice to other stores in the region. And then it picked up to the degree where we're going to need other people, because I was literally traveling. I was living out of a suitcase. So stores were having me parachute in.
Oh, okay. So
And
they would inventory up a bunch of requests, and then
you
Jason
got
would
it.
fly in, like fix everything, and then
Yeah.
okay.
And so it got to the point where it's like, okay, you hit that capacity ceiling, and now you've got to build a team.
All right.
And I was so energized by the building, right? The
Yeah. Yeah.
growing
Yeah.
something. And it was just so well received by the stores, because Ted did such a great job at explaining, listen, this is going to be the highest margin area of your store. And so how much of that margin do you want? And of course, part of what general managers are, held accountable to is driving margin. And so he taught me how to interact with other leaders, how to take an idea, get buy-in, transfer this best practice across multiple stores, inspect what you expect,
Mm-hmm.
hold people accountable, all the attributes of becoming a good leader. And I give him all the credit. He taught me. I still think to this day when I deal with situations, I think, wow, how would Ted handle this? And I still receive that, that inspiration from him.
So it sounds to me like you started the Geek Squad inside of Staples, like before Best Buy ever thought of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it wasn't too long after that. What were some of the groups? The Geek Squad, the Nerd. Oh
Yeah, I don't
God.
know. I don't know them all, but as you were talking, I was thinking about what's the
Yeah.
common day equivalent of this. Oh, this is the Geek Squad, right?
Yeah. And then
So
it wasn't long before we had vans branded. We were delivering computers, setting them
yeah,
up.
okay.
Yeah.
And did you take that idea and make it a business when you left there? Or
No.
okay, so what? Tell me what. So you got this great thing going on. Why not stay?
Well, my aspiration at that time, part of what I was talking to Ted about was, hey, what's it going to take for me? What is the career path to your role? And he was the director of sales and operations for the whole Western region. And he said, well, there's actually a career path right to the president's spot. But with all the stores, with all the general manager positions, and it's going to take you quite a long time to do that. And I was recruited by Dell. And so Dell had set up operations in the city of Edmonton, and I was recruited, and I got to surround myself with people who all they talked about was technology all day long. And that, uh, and Ted was so, he gave it his blessing. He said, you know what, within a few years, you will have done 5 different things at Dell, right? They're rapidly growing. They're going to have you exposed to a number of different learning opportunities and growth. Or you can stay here and take one small step at a time down this path. And so I moved on to Dell. And then about a year into my career with Dell, I had an opportunity to relocate to the United States on an international work assignment. And I was put in a position where I was directly responsible for a rapidly growing line of business. And again, just another domino.
Mm-hmm.
And I give a lot of credit to Michael Dell and to his executive leadership team. I learned a great deal about how to grow a business within a matrixed organization like Dell, and I love it.
Did you get to work directly with him at some point?
Michael, no.
Okay.
Michael had his own direct reports. However, we would have to provide. We called it. We nicknamed it the Justify Your Existence meeting, and so we would provide
No
updates,
pressure. Yeah.
to Michael in
Okay.
terms of how the operation was going, and he would challenge you. He would ask you really direct questions about where you're headed with the line of business. What additional support do you need? What are you doing to get it? And he was just amazing to hear, to learn from, and to listen to how his brain worked. And what I picked up from him most, and this is just trivia for your listeners and viewers, but what I picked up from him most was his dedication to the customer. He really prioritized spending time with existing customers. Now, he wouldn't be visiting mom and pop who had a couple of computers in a corner store. I'm talking about large commercial accounts where he would go meet with leaders in those organizations and ask, what is it that you truly value? Are we providing it to you? And if so, how business effective are we? Where can we be better? What problems are you trying to solve that we can help you with from a technology standpoint? And he was brilliant and still is.
And so again, you've got this great career track going. When did this desire to, help entrepreneurs create, money making machines out of their business come into existence?
I realize now it was always with me.
Okay. So when did the cage get open and you
Oh
were able
man.
to walk
So
out or whatever?
thank you for asking that. So when my wife Rebecca and I, when we had the opportunity to move to the United States, I had a choice at that time. I could go to Tampa, I could go to Salt Lake City, or I could go to Phoenix. Now, Tampa was the worst performing team in that line of business. And that's the location I chose. I wanted the worst performing group. And a few years into that work assignment, Rebecca and I got pregnant. And she wanted to move back to Canada to be closer to her sister, who also just got pregnant literally within 3 weeks of each other.
Okay. Yep.
And so
Go
we,
through it
we
together.
moved back to Canada, but there was no opportunity for me with Dell having returned to Canada. And so I was put in a position where I will never forget it for the rest of my days, where I said to Rebecca, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this now. I don't want to live with any regret. So I'm going to give it a shot. And that was to become an entrepreneur and to help coach others. And she said to me, you've got my full support. That's all I needed to hear.
Hmm.
And I hear that my dad whispering in my ear. I just hear his voice whispering in my ear, something he used to say to me growing up that helped me develop my strength and my endurance and my no quit. He said, son, don't ever be found guilty of giving up on yourself. Ever. Do I make myself clear? And when my father asked that question, you knew he was serious. And
the answer is always yes.
you got it.
Never
So there isn't anything that's going to keep me down. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it my best shot. And I just got to work. And now at this point in my journey, having a group of companies, 7 businesses altogether that are growing, it's all those people that had such a positive impact on me. The ones who encouraged me, the ones who knew when to kick and when to hug. You know, those moments, what Nelson used to refer to, my late mentor, he used to refer to as a woodshed moment. You know, if he ever called you and said, you got a minute? Yeah. You might want to sit down. Well, you knew that you were going to get coached.
Something's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. So you've
that's-
got your wife is pregnant. You've moved back to Canada. You've got her support, for you to take this entrepreneurial plunge. You've got your dad's words of wisdom in the back of your head. So that's all great. But what did you do? Like, what did you do to get started or get whatever it was off the ground?
Well, the first thing I did was a gentleman that I had invested in some real estate. He had reached out to me. His name was Walter. And he said, you know what? You're always talking about finance. You're always talking about money. You're always talking about profit. And he said, I need you to meet with this fellow who's quite similar. He's always talking about the same stuff. And I think you guys would really click and get along well. And so Walter introduced me to Glenn. And Glenn was, at that time, he was just a standalone, working as an individual certified financial planner. And he was serving clients, but he was dealing with families that were struggling with debt. And he was helping them work through that. So when I met with Glenn, I spent some time with him, said, hey, what is it that you do every day? Can I just shadow you and just get a sense of what this is all about? And he said, yeah, for sure. So I spent no more than a week shadowing them. And I said, you know what? I want to help families who are struggling with debt. That's where my journey began, because I could relate. And it just broke my heart when I saw moms and dads coming in with their kids and they're buried in debt. The relationship is falling apart, the stress, the pressure. It was just an explosion waiting to happen. And I could instantly relate to that because it brought back those memories of when I was a kid.
Okay.
And so that's how I started. And when I say I started, I mean, I began counseling these families through those difficult times. And it was energizing work. It was fascinating to me. I learned a great deal about the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act and how to help people, navigate their options and exercise those options and, get off on a fresh start. And I did that for 5 years and helped a lot of families along the way.
And what caused you to, by the way, thank you for doing that. Like, that's it seems like a lot of that people that are in that kind of trouble are forgotten or taken advantage of.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like it's either forgotten, like can't help you, or oh, I can help you, but get ready, because the help I'm going to give you is going to keep you in debt for a long time or something. I'm not an expert, but that's kind of how I. So when did you decide that you'd done enough of that work and sort of transition to wealth creation, helping people with wealth creation?
It was July of 2008. I'll never forget it. A friend of mine from the United States had reached out to me. His name's Matt. And he said, Jayson, we got through the pleasantries, caught up with one another. And he said, listen, the reason I'm calling is we're headed down to an event to learn about this process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept. And I immediately asked, what is that? Like, what are you talking about? And he said, listen, get on a plane, meet us down here. We're going to go to this 3-day event. And I didn't have the money to go, but determined to find out what this was all about, and recognizing that Matt, very successful entrepreneur, multi-millionaire at that time, early 30s, and he extended an invite. So I did whatever it took, and I got there. And 3 days later, I was absolutely determined to implement this process in my own life. And I came back to Canada. I met with every life insurance agency and company that would take a meeting with me so that I could trust but verify what I had learned. And I was inspired. I wanted to do this. And that's where my journey began. And then I met my late mentor in February of 2012. And I was blessed beyond the definition of good fortune to be mentored by him for many years. He passed away in March of 2019, but he was able to see the fruits of his generosity and just how generous he was with his time and his wisdom, his knowledge, his experience. I commissioned a documentary film on him that he was able to see before he passed, a month before he passed. Viewers, listeners can tune into that film at no cost. It's available at nelsonnashfilm.com. That's nelsonnashfilm.com. It's a 1-hour documentary, and it'll give you a deeper glimpse into the essence of just how incredible Nelson was. And I miss him. I think about him every single day, and I owe him a debt of gratitude that I can only repay by coaching and helping other people.
And I may have missed this, Jayson, but where did you and Nelson connect?
We connected at the annual Infinite Banking
Okay.
conference.
Okay. So,
and then the very next year, in 2013, he said, I want this guy on the platform. I want this guy speaking at our events. And
the very next year. Okay.
And I've been speaking at those conferences every year since. And
what did you do? What did you do that's you're calling him your mentor, but what did you do?
He saw me speak.
You must have impressed the hell out of this guy for him to say in 1 year he wants you up there on the stage at this event. I don't even know I haven't even gotten to asking you what infinite banking is, but it feels like there was a symbiotic thing going on here.
Oh, there was
he didn't mentor you for no reason. He mentored you because he saw something.
Yeah, absolutely. And he used to refer to me as his favorite adopted son. And again, I think about him every single day. I miss him a lot. But I'll never forget, when I first met him, going back to that moment, if you just picture this. So, I walked into the room and recognized Nelson as being the author of the book, Becoming Your Own Banker. And I had my copy of the book, and I approached him and I said, Nelson, it's a pleasure to meet you. And may I ask you to sign my book? And he did that. And he said, wow, from Canada, huh? And I said, yeah. And we were just small talking. And he said, you know what? In his Southern drawl, he said, I'm surprised you all can speak American. And, he was just, he was really witty that way. And, but it was an instant, I felt the connection. I just knew that he was someone that I just had to be around. It's difficult to articulate other than to say it just felt natural. And he taught me so much.
Okay, so let's share a little bit about what he taught you and what you've learned since, if you don't mind. So becoming your own banker and the infinite banking concept. What does that mean, and why?
That's exactly what I asked when Matt said, "Hey,
Yeah.
what's going to this deal?"
Well, I think everybody listening is like, what is that?
So
Yeah.
the essence of the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, is to recapture the interest that you presently pay to banks, credit card companies, finance companies, to recapture that money that you're transferring away from your family, from your business, for all those things that you need to purchase throughout your lifetime: property, vehicles, businesses, business equipment, you name it. And so if you think about, for most of your viewers and listeners, if they were to ask themselves the question, this was a big aha moment for me, so I want to share it with you and with your listeners. Nelson asked me the question, who is the banker in your life today? Someone, some organization must perform that function as it relates to your needs. And isn't it true that at present, all of your money is flowing through the books of someone else's bank? And that was like getting hit in the face with a 2x4, because nobody explained to me, listen, it doesn't matter what your source of income is, T4, W2, interest, dividends, doesn't matter. That money flows onto the books of someone else's bank, and then it sits there, which it doesn't, waiting for you to pay all your bills. You pay all your bills, make all your payments. You did all the work. Everyone else got all your money. And then when you need access to capital, you got to go to the bank. You got to go through lengthy, nosy credit checks, income verification, credit bureau, etc. And if they grant you access to someone else's money, it's on their terms, not yours. And so you spend your life being told, save 10% of your income. Take your money, put it into mutual funds, give it to Wall Street, give it to Bay Street, hand control of the motion of your money over to someone else who thinks they can do better with it than you can. But when you need access, ready access to money, go borrow it. How does that make any earthly sense if you know that you can take control of that function as it relates to your needs?
Well, that's the thing that I think most people don't know, obviously, right? How they can take control. So how do they take control?
Great question. The tool that we use to implement the process, that Nelson had been utilizing for 35 years before I even met the man, is dividend paying, participating whole life insurance.
Okay.
What a shocker. You put a contract in place that begins piling up what's called cash value. So think, if you close your eyes and just picture an aquarium, and that aquarium is filling up with cash, not water. And it just keeps filling up every day. Doesn't matter what's going on in the stock market, doesn't matter what's going on in the economy, doesn't matter what's going on in the real estate market, etc. No government intervention. You're in a position of total control. You can borrow against that aquarium of value without any money leaving the aquarium. So you pile up $100,000 in cash value. You've got a death benefit of $1 million because it's a life insurance contract. You need to buy a new car. You pick up the phone, you call the insurance company and you say, I need to access a policy loan, please. You have ready access capital on demand on your terms. It's an unstructured loan.
Mm-hmm.
You get the 50 grand to go buy the car. Your 100,000 is still in the aquarium, the policy. And every day that you're driving the car, the aquarium is filling up with more money. So you're kind of like an Uber driver, but you never have to pick up anybody. And that aquarium cannot go down. It can't go backward. And so gradually and incrementally over a period of time, you get to take control of all of those financing needs that you will have throughout the remainder of your lifetime. And so the process of becoming your own banker is not about addressing the yield of an investment. It's not an either or, I'm going to become my own banker or buy Bitcoin, I'm going to become my own banker, or invest in real estate or the stock market. It's an as well as. You can't get a better rate of return doing anything without controlling the banking function as it relates to that thing you want to set about to do. And believe me, when you have ready access capital, opportunities will hunt you down. And that is where I have specialized in serving clients coast to coast through our Ascendant Financial team, working with business owners on implementing the profit first model, and then being able to improve and expand the wealth that they're creating through the implementation of becoming your own banker. And that's what we do. And we're pretty damn good at it.
It's so let me just walk myself through this process to see if I've got it straight. So you buy a life insurance contract. I don't know what the right term is, if it's whole life or whatever, a dividend paying life insurance contract, but you pay a premium for that, and then annually or whatever, but you need money to pay that. And then over time, the cash value builds, right? Because every year the insurance company is saying, we're going to pay you 6%, or whatever, that whatever they choose to pay, right? And that goes in as cash into your account, which you can use for anything, as you said. So there's this, a several year process that goes into creating something that's large enough in order for you to start spending it, or is it, what am I missing there?
Yeah. Well, thank you for walking us through, your interpretation of it. So you're thinking through what this is, and just to add to what you've already said. So the moment that contract is created, cash value begins accumulating immediately, and loan access is available immediately. And so if the policy is designed to take care of a specific financial objective that you have, purchasing a car, purchasing a business equipment, whatever that is, then the policy is engineered for you to achieve that outcome. And when you need access to money, you're borrowing against your aquarium of value. You're not taking anything out. You're not withdrawing anything. And to your point about the percentage, I think you remarked 6%. The cash value accumulation is not tied to that.
Okay.
The insurance company contractually guarantees. Well, no, it's tied to the death benefit.
Death benefit. Okay.
The insurance company contractually guarantees that the total cash value must equal the total death benefit by age 100 of the life that is insured. In the United States, that is age 121. And so what that means is that every single day that you're aging closer to 100, your cash value is accumulating, it's growing. And the way that we structure the policy, the death benefit is rising every year for no additional premium.
Okay. So the cash value can keep going up, or the amount of cash value can keep going up as well as you age. And interesting. Okay.
And you become a co-owner of the insurance company.
Because it's
and
a
so you participate.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Hence the term participating.
Right.
Your
participation. That's when the dividend comes in, and
got it.
Reply. Oh, okay. Okay.
You got it.
All right.
And the carriers that we work with here in Canada, and also carriers that are in the United States, have been declaring paying dividends every single year in Canada since 1848. In the United States, longer than that, for the past 2 centuries or more. And when a dividend is declared, it's contractually guaranteed to be paid. It cannot be repossessed, and it can never lose value. So recognizing the fact that A, your money must reside somewhere. Let's just agree money has to reside somewhere. And B, if the commercial banks are purchasing dividend-paying participating whole life insurance contracts as tier 1 assets on their balance sheets by the truckload, they're either really stupid and getting really wealthy, or they know something that you and I don't. Which one do you think it is?
Yeah, probably the latter.
Yeah. Go to your corner bank and say, hey, can you just show me the bank's mutual fund portfolio? They're going to say,
one.
we don't have one.
Right.
But if you go to the bank and say, can you show me your tier one assets and identify for me what portion of those assets are in dividend paying participating whole life insurance contracts? It's called BOLI, bank owned life insurance. People can hop on to Uncle Google and type in BOLI and learn all about it.
Okay.
Or they can pick up R. Nelson Nash's book titled Becoming Your Own Banker, which he wrote for you. He didn't write it for me. It's a 92-page read. It'll take you the better part of an afternoon to get through it. And it'll open your eyes to a whole new financial world. I promise you.
Okay. So becoming your own banker, you've been exposed to the idea now.
Yep.
You've got a resource in the book. You've got a resource in Jayson. I'm not going to pretend that we've talked about this long enough for anybody to understand, but that's a thought that I would say most people listening or watching have not had. And this guy's so enthusiastic about it and successful with it that it seems like it's definitely worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Because I think there are other benefits to owning the life insurance too that we probably can't get into right
goodness.
right now. Yeah. So shifting gears here for a little bit, the 6-week sabbatical, that's another thing you brought up that people are like, what, 6 weeks sabbatical? Can't do that. It's never going to happen. So how did my business is going to be, I could never do it. Right. So how did you how did you prepare for it? How did you have the courage or the confidence or whatever you want to explain it as to embark on that?
Well, what inspired me was Joe Polish of the Genius Network taking a 1-year sabbatical. It all began with a podcast episode that I heard. And being that I'm in Dan Sullivan's 10X Ambition program, I connected with Dan and I said, I'm thinking about doing this, but it won't be for a year. I think I can manage 6 weeks. So we aptly named it a mini sabbatical. And I met with my teams because, again, we have a number of companies in the Lowe family group of companies. So I met with my teams and I said, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm scared. So I was very vulnerable. I opened up with my team leaders and I said, look, this scares me. And these are the reasons why it scares me. And I was reassured from my teammates, go do it. Mm-hmm. We're going to be fine. We promise you. And we began making plans, communicating to all people who needed to be aware that this was coming. And we communicated it months in advance, communicated it again, getting closer to the date, just to, again, remind everybody that I will not be accessible for anything other than what we refer to as a 911 incident, a client passing away, a team member suffering an emergency that I need to be aware of, the building blowing up, a nuclear event, those types of things. And my team, God bless them, they locked me out of all of my technology. So all my passwords were changed for every tool that I could.
So even if you were tempted,
they changed the alarm codes to the buildings where we operate. And so I was completely shut out, and our businesses grew in my absence. Isn't that good?
That's better than good.
And so I tell other entrepreneurs, you have got to take time not to recharge your batteries. You've got to take time to replace them.
That's great.
And so get away from the businesses, get away from all that, and replace your batteries. And you'll come back with so many new ideas. You'll come back so energized. I was chomping at the bit to come back, but I'll say this to you and to your listeners, about 4 weeks in to the sabbatical, I began to feel like I was expendable.
That's a bad feeling, right? Or a good feeling. That seems to me like, oh shoot, I better, if it can go this long without me, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I began to feel expendable. Yeah. And it was a feeling that I manifested all on my own. And when I came back from sabbatical and connected with Dan, I shared this with him, and he's my coach. And he said, "You're not expendable. You're just now freed up more to help other people realize their potential and their ambitions. And that is what you need to be doing more of."
Hmm.
And he said, "I want you to go back to your team and ask them and say, look, we went through this experience together. And so I want to know from you, who should I be spending my time with going forward? And what should I be spending my time doing going forward?" And Dan said, "Listen, you're going to be pleasantly surprised at how closely their answers align with what you're already thinking." And he was right.
Right.
And so the only regret I have is not doing it sooner.
And you mentioned that 4 weeks you started to maybe feel expendable. How long did it take you, Jayson, at the beginning where you were like, okay, I'm okay with this?
Uh, if I can recall, it was probably about 3 days.
Okay. All right. So
And it was,
still was some, even after all the preparation and everything, when you turn everything off, there's still some, oh my gosh.
yeah,
Right?
it was, I'll tell you, the feeling was, I don't know, I was antsy for the first few days. And then by about day 3, it hit me. This is real. You're going to see this through.
Got it.
And, because I was like, oh my God, there's still so much time left. Is it going to go by
Yeah.
quick? Is it going to go by slow? Um,
It's
but I
kind of
had,
like being on Survivor, right? It's
oh
like,
my God,
okay.
it was, but I'll tell you, being able to spend more time with my beautiful wife, Rebecca, with our 4 children, got to do some traveling and got to do a ton of reading. You can see behind me here, this is
Yeah,
just
it's
a
full.
portion of my
Yep.
library.
I
And
gotta, I think my book is, oh no, it's not in there.
it will be. And so I got through a ton of reading, got caught up there, ordered a bunch of new books as well. Whenever the
Mhm.
inspiration struck me, I just hopped on Amazon and boom, ordered it. And I connected with a lot of people. I touched base with a number of my mentors, and just really replaced my batteries. That's
Yeah.
that's the whole objective.
You worked on you.
Yeah.
Good
And
for
whenever
you.
I checked in, because teammates, they would reach out periodically, not to talk about business, just to say, "Hey, just wanted to say hi. Hope you're enjoying your sabbatical. We miss you. We care about you." And I would reply, "How are our teammates doing?" And they go, "We'll let you know when you're back in September." Like
Okay.
they
Yeah.
didn't cave in once.
Nice. Nice.
So it was yeah, what a remarkable experience. And I'd recommend it to any entrepreneur.
I love the license plate, by the way, Grow 10X.
Thank you.
I'm looking at it and I'm a little jealous that I haven't thought to have that license plate.
Oh, hey,
Um,
go get one. There you go.
yeah,
Nice.
it's probably available because there
Yeah.
probably aren't many people thinking about growing 10X on their license plate. But well, Jayson, this has been so fabulous getting to know you. Uh, I've appreciated the opportunity. I thank you for wearing the Genius Network T-shirt.
My pleasure.
Um, there's so he there's no there's he just came just very casual, ready to go. I love it. I love it. And if you don't know anything about Genius Network, check it out. It's a very cool organization. Um, as his strategic coach, as Jayson mentioned many times, don't forget to pick up. It's Nash, right? Um,
Art Nelson.
Nelson Nash, R. Nelson Nash. Yes,
Yeah.
becoming your own banker.
Becoming your own.
That's a I love it. I'm so glad you introduced us to the concept. Thank you so much for that.
Oh,
Congratulations on your success. And how I should have asked this earlier, but how should people connect with you? How do you
oh,
like to be connected with?
I'd love to hear from your listeners and viewers. I can be reached on social media platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on the Facebooks, on the Instagrammies. If you head on over to the YouTubes, head on over to the Bankers Vault channel, Wealth Without Bay Street channel. You
The
can,
podcast. Yep.
yeah, you can just ease on over to the ascendantfinancial.ca website, and you can get Nelson's book directly from there. We sell it cheaper than Amazon, any other platform. We'll courier it right to your front door. And
Okay.
that's
That's good to know.
ascendantfinancial.ca. And I'd love to hear from your viewers and listeners. And I mean that sincerely. Whenever I'm, blessed to be a guest on a show, I love hearing from folks. Like, what insights came up for you? What thoughts? Did you have a clarifying moment? Were you inspired at all? Or did you just think it was a total waste of your time and you just want to tell me I'm a terrible guest? Okay, well then just reach out to me and let me know that. But
Yeah, I don't think
yeah,
you're going to get too many. I don't think you're going to get too many of those. Um, but I do. I would expect people to reach out and ask you more about this. What you're talking about with being your own banker,
yeah,
because it's. Um, you're right. I mean, the whole, whether it's the retirement community or whether it's investment community, it's all about, you know, like you said, give us your money and we'll take care of it. And when you need it, let us know and we'll give you some of it back. Um, and the whole interest thing, right? It's like, how do you get rich? Compound interest. Well, not paying it, earning it, right?
there you
That's
go.
so.
There you go. You
Uh,
got it, man.
yeah. So very cool, Jason. Thanks a lot. It's been great getting to know you. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Likewise, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the How'd It Happen podcast, where we believe that success doesn't happen unless you make it happen. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you like to listen. And while you're there, please rate it and leave a comment as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the show, ideas for future guests, or whatever you'd like to share. And of course, you can always find me at MikeMalatesta.com. See you next time. Thanks again for listening to the How'd It Happen podcast.